In this tutorial, I'd like to walk you through the steps of color correcting your images after you've already brought them onto your computer. Now, what I'm looking at here is this is looking at I've got Adobe Bridge open, so I can view the files that I just downloaded. For this presentation, I went and photographed some pictures over at Dallas artist Michelle Mikesell's studio. And this first picture, I've got it up because it shows me actually photographing a gray card in order to get my color balance scheme. And you'll notice that the picture that follows immediately is a gray card photograph. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to show you how to use this also in order to do guessless color correction on all of the pictures that were shot inside of the studio. So what I will stress is that it's very, very important that you get at least one picture of a gray card in virtually every lighting condition that you find yourself in. And this is especially important when you're in fluorescent lighting, because fluorescent lighting varies so much. There's almost no two fluorescent tubes that match. So anyway, if you'll just get a picture of a gray card, no worries. All right. So what I've done is I shot this gray card, and then I went along and I just shot some detailed pictures and some photographs of Michelle standing in her studio amongst her paints, and then some of her jars of brushes and so on and so forth. Now, I also later on in this shooting, I shot her in a corner of her studio where there was quite a bit of window light. And since this is a mixed lighting situation, and I see that it's taken a while for my bridge to draw that image in, that because she's sitting amongst a bunch of window light, I did indeed take another gray card picture, because the color of the light's going to be different. Daylight is different from incandescent, is different from flash, is different from blah, blah, blah. Now, here's another set of photographs where I photographed her in a room that was strictly window lit. There's no incandescent lighting going on. And again, I shot a gray card, and then I proceeded to shoot the actual photos that I was going to do of her in there. Then I went back into the studio, and then we went outside by our very cool old garage that she's got out there. And again, even though daylight is a very predictable color, I did go ahead and shoot a gray card in this situation. So I made sure that I'm shooting gray cards in every lighting condition that I find myself. And this is super important for this little trick I'm about to show you to work. Now, I have included in your packets with the CD a small section of a gray card. And when you photograph the gray card, it doesn't have to be large. It just has to be big enough for us to use the eyedropper tool on in the Adobe Camera Raw processor. Now, the small piece of gray card that I gave you is plenty good. It's small enough that you can carry it in your pocket or your purse or your camera bag, and then you can just go ahead and hold it out at arm's length, get a picture of it in the lighting that you're about to take photographs in, or that you just finished taking photographs in, and you can use that then when you get back to your office or your studio or whatever to color correct your pictures. Now, here's how it works. What I'm going to do is, in the bridge here, I'm going to choose the gray card picture, and then I'm going to do a range selection of all of the pictures that were shot indoors. Okay, so I'm going to shift click to select all of those, and then I'm going to roll on down, and I see that my computer is wanting to pause. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in, there's a couple of little posers that we can include in this batch, and I'll also go ahead and pick these 4 photographs that were also done inside in this incandescent track lighting that Michelle has in her studio. And then what I'll do is I'll just go up to the File menu, and I'm going to do File, and Open in Camera Raw. Now, I'm not necessarily going to open these in Photoshop. Photoshop will have to open up, but I go ahead and choose Camera Raw, because really what I'm interested in doing right now is just color correcting these images, and then I can come back and work with them later on. So we're going to let these load up into the Camera Raw dialog box. And here they go. Now, what you're going to see is that when we open up several pictures, they are lined up in thumbnails along the left-hand side over here. So there are our photographs all lined up. And if you've been shooting camera raw, I assume that you're familiar with this interface that we're looking at here. I'm not going to go into all the details of setting exposure and recovery and fill light and blacks and all of that stuff. What I am going to show you is a magic trick in color balancing your pictures. And color balancing in the raw converter is actually done with the temperature and the tint slider over here. The very top two sliders over here on the right below the histogram and the tabs. So we see a temperature and the tint sliders there. And the white balance came in as shot. Now on my particular camera that I use for these, I did not have automatic white balance shot. And you can see that they're very, very amber color. They're really, really kind of orange. And they're going to remain orange until I color correct those. Now, here's the way it works. Now I've got all of these incandescent lit photographs that are very, very orange all lined up over here on the left-hand side. And what I want to do is, well, first of all, let's go down here, and this is something that is too often overlooked, is that we want to go in here and set our color settings. Let's make sure that we choose, for printing, Adobe RGB 1998, that we choose 16 bits per channel, and preferably I'd like to use the middle or non-resampling option on the size, and then I'm going to go ahead and just plug in a regular print resolution on these photos. Now, if I change one, the Adobe Camera Raw has this kind of idiosyncrasy. If you change it on one picture that's open as a batch, it'll change it on all of them. So that's one of those things that's a little quirky about the Adobe Raw that you might want to be aware of. Now, back to our color correction here. Now, I could sit here all day and rely on my monitor and try to set this temperature slider here to something that I thought was neutral. Whoops, let's get on over here now. And you know, and I could play with the tint and move it around and play with that. But you know what? It really is much easier than this, because up here at the top in our little tool set that comes with the Adobe Raw converter here is and this is the Adobe CS3. I'm not using CS4 because CS4 has some color management problems. I'm recording this on the advent of CS5 coming out. So at the school where I teach, we've actually kind of skipped using CS4. We've kept the students on CS3 so that we could get predictable printer output. And we noticed that there was a lot of problems with the CS4, and it's documented on the web. But anyway, what I need to do to make this process work is, first of all, I choose the gray card image and put it into the preview window here. And that's important. And then what I do, you see this select all up here in the upper left hand corner, just click on that, and all of the pictures in our little whatever you're going to call it, film strip, or our thumbnails over there, are going to become active. And what that means is that any changes I make over here on the right hand side on one picture will apply to all of the pictures. Now that could be disastrous, but if I know that's going to happen, I can use it to my advantage, okay? And what I'm going to do is the third tool from the left over here at the top is called the white balance tool. And what these eyedroppers, you want to get used to looking at these eyedroppers, but what this eyedropper that looks like it's got a little bit of gray paint in it, okay? What that does in all of the tools in Photoshop, where you see this little eyedropper with it looks like it's half full with gray paint, is it color corrects, or it color neutralizes anything that you click on. Okay? Well, the good thing is that we photographed in our light source a neutral object. So if I choose this white balance tool, bring it into the center of my gray card image, and click, it will color neutralize the gray card, which it should be because it was color neutral in the original scene. And it will also, because all of the pictures are selected, will color neutralize all of those photos. This is great. And what a huge time saver. And so you can watch this and you'll watch each of those pictures color correct down through there. And you know, I don't even really need to have a color monitor to make this work. So this is the way to do your color correction in the Adobe Camera Raw. Super easy, great little trick. If you just get that picture of the gray card in the situations you shoot in, then you'll be in fine shape as far as color.